There we go.
All right. So we are live. Thanks for joining the third week of the Make Guitar podcast. Today we're going to talk about being in tune and sounding good and playing cool guitars. And who knows what? We'll see when we get there.
I'm not making any promises. I'm just going along for the ride, right? Yeah.
So that's
So
safe.
yeah. So tell me about this tuning thing. You said staying in tune.
Oh, well, the question came up, can you tune your guitar using the polytune just by playing all the strings at once, just by playing a chord or strumming the guitar? Can you do that? And then we started talking about all of the variability that goes into tuning, such as maybe the vibration of the strings is upsetting all of the individual strings, so that you don't you can't accurately tune all of your guitar strings at the same time.
Oh, that's a really good point. Do you have a polytune?
I do.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, because I have two of them. I have the original one that's kind of bigger, and then I have a mini one. And they're great. Like, I like the polytune a lot. It works really good. But I do notice that if I do the thing where you tune all 6 strings, like, I'll get it in tune, like it'll all be kind of, it'll show the little LEDs that it's all in tune. But if I then go and tune each string individually, it seems like they're a little sharper flat. And I'm not sure what that is. And it could be the thing that you're talking about. Like, maybe if all the strings are vibrating at once, they're exerting a little more tension on the neck. And that makes everybody go a little bit flat or sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be too that, when you're tuning the individual strings, the little meter goes all the way across like this. And so there's a lot more LEDs kind of across here to measure the accuracy. But when you're tuning all 6 strings, the little LEDs kind of just go up and down. And there's only like 6 lights or something, I forget
Mm-hmm.
exactly, but it's like there's maybe like 6 little LEDs in there. So the range of like the number of cents, or fractions of a semitone, like between those 6 little LEDs, isn't as accurate as the range that you get across the dial.
Right.
So that could be it too, because you might tune it where it's in the green, like it looks like it's in tune, but then it's like maybe it's a little sharper flat compared to where it would be above or below that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that jives with like I've been comparing the polytune with a headstock tuner, and the headstock tuner only has, like, I don't know, like maybe 5 little blocks above and below um, the one where it's in tune. Like, if you land on like one block over it being in tune, it just doesn't seem, it doesn't seem like fine tuning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never used one of those headstock tuners, but I think I'm suspicious of them because they're small. It's like, it's like this big. So I don't know, the electronics in there and the device is like probably they had to cut some corners to fit it in that little case. Though
Oh, certainly.
to be honest, I like the idea that you don't have to plug into it. So the
Right.
polytune, you got to put it in your signal chain, so it can go at the. Actually, I got a good controversial question here. Do you put the polytune at the beginning of your chain or the end of your chain?
I put it at the beginning.
Yeah, I always put it at the beginning, but I had this little tiny epiphany recently where I thought, I mean, it was like pretty minor. Like, when I have an epiphany, they're usually just this big, right? But the epiphany I had was that I should put it at the end of the chain, because when you turn it on, then it cuts off all the effects.
Right.
So if you had any noisy effects, like if you had your fuzz box on and it was going into your flanger or your delay, and so like you're getting some noise, you know.
That, I mean, that's an interesting idea. I didn't notice any noise coming out of my amp still. I mean, I'm not usually using a lot of volume, but I didn't notice any noise coming out of my signal chain, which, you know, I would assume is like noise from the electrical system that I'm on or from cables and things like that, as opposed to just like a noisy effect. Like if my compressor were making noise all by itself, that'd be bad.
Yeah.
The tuner basically cuts all sound from continuing on down the chain
Yeah.
when
I
it's
mean,
off.
I do that too. Like I usually have the tuner at the beginning of the chain. I mean, I always do it that way, but I
Hmm.
just thought about this the other day for some reason. I was like, maybe I should move it to the end of the chain. I mean, like, and putting it at the beginning of the chain is very common. Like everybody does that. So,
Hmm.
so I don't know. I might try it at the end just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, if it's really dramatic, um, maybe that's something like that's a video right there.
Yeah. I wonder also, like, how does it affect the tuner? Because then you'd have your effects going into the tuner, right? So you might
Oh,
have to turn everything off, you know?
you would
Does that
like
make
if you had a
sense? Like,
delay going in there, that would be it would mess up the tuner.
maybe, yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of a weird thing. Yeah, we'll do an experiment with that. But yeah, the Polytune is great. I had this other thing too. It was like I think it was called a Planet Waves, like strobe tuner.
Hmm.
And strobe tuners are supposed to be really accurate. So I thought, like, oh man, I'm gonna get the strobe tuner and I'll use it to set my intonation, right?
Yes.
But it's actually a strobe tuner, but it's only like this big, and it just
Hmm.
has a ring of LEDs around it. And I'm not sure that that's more accurate than the Polytune. You know, I don't really know. I should side by side them. I don't know that I ever side by sided them. I used one and then I switched to the other one. The problem with the Planet Waves tuner was that it's not a stomp box, but it works like one. So you plug into one side, you can plug your effects into the other side, and it takes a 9 volt, power connector, right?
Hmm.
But it doesn't have a foot switch, which is like a total. I don't know why. Yeah, I should have been smarter, like when I bought it and got one with a foot switch, because without the foot switch, it has this little rubber button and you can't press it with your foot. So you got to reach
Oh,
over and actually, press it, right? So like what are you going to do? You're going to have it up on top of your amp, your cable going into that thing, and then have a cable going to the floor. I don't know, it's kind of a recipe for disaster.
yeah. So when the tuner is on, it silences the signal.
Uh that's a good question. I forget. It might just pass the signal through. It might have two modes. You have to turn it on though. I forget. It's been a while. I bought it a long time ago and then I switched to the Polytune and I haven't used it since. So, I'll go dig that thing up. I don't know. I don't see it easily accessible from here
I mean,
where I
I've
go
seen
grab it.
people like, especially on like bass amps, where the tuner is always on, so you can always see if you're in tune just by looking at your amp. And there's no reason that you'd need to turn off the tuner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I wonder if Polytune has that.
I
That'd
think
be
it
kind of
does.
cool
It
if
has
they.
it has two modes.
Oh, is there? I've never used that other mode.
I haven't either.
They have a couple tuning modes too, where you can tune it like down to D or like drop D or something, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like I don't know that you really even need those because it pretty much just tells you whatever note, like so
Yeah,
like lately I've been tuning my guitar to C.
yeah,
It's like everything's down like three frets or 6 frets or whatever it is, right? Um, I just tune like normal because it's just like C, F, D sharp or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's kind of low. You know, what's funny is I've been doing it for a while now, and at first I thought it was weird, and I'm like, I don't know, you know. And then the more I do it, I've just gotten so used to it. I'm like, I kind of like it. You know, I'm like, you know, it is a little weird because the strings are a little floppy, so I just
Hmm.
don't hit them as hard, right? So I just hit them softer. And the G string, which is always the problem everywhere you go, is a little it's a little like it can be a little twangy or buzzy or something, right? Just a little bit.
Hmm.
But if you have a fuzz box on it, you can't tell.
Right. You know, when I took that guitar setup class,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it seemed like that particular shop kind of wanted you to get, you know, the nut slots as low as possible. So right at the height of your first fret. Um, and there was this guy who had a Telecaster. It was like a brand new Telecaster. His girlfriend had bought him for his birthday or something like that. And I think his nut slots ended up just a little too low and it was a little
Oh,
too buzzy. And he wasn't, I don't think he was very happy with that,
yeah,
um, the class for that reason. But, you know, I kind of like from that class and also having them plec my Mustang, I got the feeling they don't really care what your guitar sounds like acoustically. It's really like once you plug it in, that buzz is going to go away, and once you put a little bit of dirt on it, it's really going to go away, so you won't notice it anymore, and it'll just make it easier to play.
yeah.
And as we were talking about before, I think that it makes intonating your guitar a lot easier if your nut slots are like
Oh,
nearly
yeah,
exactly the same height as your frets.
yeah, yeah, totally. Which brings up the subject of the zero fret.
Right.
Like, why do people not make a zero fret? It just seems like it'd be easier to set up guitars. The zero fret just, you know, it would be easy to set up the nut slot height because you don't set it up, you know, right?
Maybe Leo Fender decided that's the easy way out. Gibson doesn't do it, and you know, we're
Maybe.
not going to do it. Like
Well,
Gretsch, they always did that on every
yeah.
guitar, on high end guitars, on low end guitars.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I remember when I was younger, like all the low end guitars, like the cheap, like Japanese knockoffs, they had like zero frets, you know?
Hmm.
and and so it was like the image, like if you had the zero fret, they did it because it was cheap. But I think the zero fret actually works really well. I got this thing. It's a zero glide. It's like a nut replacement with a zero fret in it, so you can just replace like a standard Fender or Gibson nut. You have to buy the Gibson variety or the Fender variety, right? But it comes with a few frets, right? And you fit the nut in, and it's got a little slot in it where you can fit the zero fret, and it just converts your guitar to a zero fret. And I put it on one guitar, and it was like super easy to set up. Sounds great, worked really good. I didn't have to hire someone to do the nut slot. I didn't do the nut slot and ruin it, make it too low or too high, right? You know, like I just put the thing in and started playing, and it
Hmm.
was like practically that easy. You know, there's a little bit of work you do. You have to kind of measure your first fret, and then they'll give you like 5 different fret sizes, and you find one that's the same height or very close, and then you got to like file down the edges, because the actual nut piece, it's kind of like that fake bone stuff, like I forget what they call that, like it's kind of like stone, but
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called either.
yeah, it's some of that nut material that everybody's using, right? And so you file down the end so the nut is like just the width of your neck, and then you use a little bit of glue, like a little bit of crazy glue or something, to just kind of hold it in place, and then you fit the nut slot in, or the fret into the little slot that the nut creates, right? And I guess the frets are like the tang of the fret, like it would be in like the center of the fret here if this was like the arc on the top of the fret. So that
Hmm.
would actually move your fret like half the width of the tang closer to the nut, because you're not modifying the end of the fretboard. So the frets that they give you are offset a tiny bit to
Oh,
take care
that's
of that,
interesting. So it's totally
which,
custom fret wire,
yeah, I think you could just put a regular fret in there.
but you'd have to file off the tang on one side.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think you could just use a fret and it would just be off by a tiny amount. And I don't, I mean, like, what would it make, like 1 cent or 2 cents difference? I mean, maybe it makes a difference. I don't think I would ever hear it. Actually, this is the 0 fret right here. I don't know if you can see that, but like, yeah, they give you a bunch of fret wire here, and then they give you the nut, you know. I got this for a guitar that I'm working on, so I haven't, it's been sitting here for a while. I got to get back on that project, you know.
Yeah. Well, what have you been working on for projects?
You know, I haven't really been working on anything because I gotta, again, like I said in the last episode, that I gotta still clean my desk off.
Hmm.
So lately, I've just been playing with the Eurorack modular synth thing. So that's like kind of like all I've been doing, you know, because it's easy because I have it set up. So I just like
Hmm.
twiddle the knobs and make noise, you know, with it. But I got to clean the desk off so I have a place to work because it takes up all the space, you know.
Right. Yeah, I understand that problem. I have a full desk.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta do that. I gotta set up like a workstation, like a place to always be able to just sit down and work, you know.
Hmm.
And it's hard if you don't have a lot of space, you know. I kind of like, we have like a fair amount of space. My house is not that big. It's about like 800-900 square feet, you know. um but there's three of us here, and then I share the room down here with Karen, and she has a drum set. So, you know, the drums take up like a big portion of the room, you know, right?
Hmm.
And then there's a bunch of bookshelves and stuff, you know. So, you know, I gotta like, I think like if I made more creative use of the space, right? You know, then I'd be getting somewhere, you know. So maybe that's the thing, is I just got to make like more creative use, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a it's a creative problem that
Requires a creative solution.
yeah, exactly. I
Right.
mean, like sometimes it involves like making custom furniture or something like that, but that's that's something that takes time away from your projects. So like
Yeah.
I'm trying not to do that. I think like for me a better solution is to work on one project at a time, as instead of like having every project that I'm working on queued up on my workbench.
Oh, that sounds smart. Yeah, I like that. You know.
So yeah, I really just need to prioritize like what are those projects.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got to have a list, and you got to stick with your list. Like I get distracted, so I get started on something, and then something will come up and it's easy to do the new something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then I get distracted by that, you know, because it's like easy to turn on the Euro rack thing and just twiddle the knobs. It doesn't take any effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have any parts. You don't have to set stuff up. You know, it can take 5 minutes to 60 minutes. You know, like some things, like you're going to work on a soldering project and you're like, okay, well, this is going to be an hour. You know, right? Or it's
Right.
going to be a
And
while.
when you're done, it's done.
Yeah, hopefully, right? You know, sometimes it'll be like a couple
Yeah, I mean, I think
sittings.
yeah, but some projects are just infinite. Like the Euro rack, you could work on that infinitely.
Oh yeah, yeah, it never ends. Maybe that's the problem with that, right? Is
Right.
if it ever ended, you know, then I'd be okay. Now I can move on and clean up. You know, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, maybe that's the good thing about like some processes being kind of unpleasant. Like, oh, once I'm done with this, once I've gone through all the horrible ordeal of recording this song, then I'll be done and I can move on and do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I got this drafting table. I kind of use it as a desk upstairs. It's not very big, you know? So for work, I sit at that and I do all my
Mm.
work there, but I feel like I got to clean that area up too. So I got to have like this work area for work that's all clean and clear, and then a work area for not work stuff that's downstairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I
so let
have
me
like a
ask.
workbench and I have my kind of officey desk, and that I think helps from, helps me keep those projects separate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you got to keep them separate, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what have you been listening to?
Um, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I think I found these guys on Bandcamp, uh, called the Soft Moon.
Oh,
Have I mentioned that before?
no, I don't think so.
It's kind of gothic, but it's also very um, just like tripped out. Um, a lot of really heavy synthesizers, but a lot of delay on the vocals, and it's it's pretty heavy. It kind of fits. Like last Wednesday we had the Orange Sky. It would be a good music to accompany that kind of visual.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, check it
Soft
out. It's on.
Moon.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll check it
the
out.
Soft Moon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just one guy, but
Oh, okay.
um, yeah, it's pretty trippy and apocalyptic sounding.
Crazy. Yeah. That last week, that last Wednesday thing was kind of nuts. It
Yeah,
was just, I got up in the morning and it was dark, and then it just didn't get any lighter all day.
yeah,
It was just crazy. And then the sky was all red orange. I saw pictures too, and I think the pictures actually didn't do it justice because the cameras were kind of like trying to adjust the white balance. So it
yep,
actually came out lighter in the photos that I saw than the actual reality of being outside.
yeah. Oh, it's weird that your eyes do the same thing. I mean, what I noticed, like from where I usually am at work, I kept looking out the window, and it looked like it was totally dark out, and I could see the taillights of cars. But then when I'd go actually outside and look, the sky was kind of like a dark brown or medium brown color, and
Yeah.
you could see a little further than you could at 5 in the morning. But yeah, uh, it definitely calls for some apocalyptic music to um, to have as a soundtrack.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Um, yeah, I took a walk in the afternoon, and it was just like going for a walk at sunset or after the sun had just gone down. It was
Hmm.
about that level of light. But luckily the air quality actually wasn't that bad that day.
Right.
So all the smoke was just up. I guess it was just up above our cloud layer, the overcast here, right?
Right. Yeah, but it didn't last. The next day it was like double what had been the worst.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
was
it
like
was pretty bad.
300 badness uh, units or whatever.
Badness units. Yeah. I want
Badness
my
unit. That's my new band.
Yeah, I was just gonna say my band needs to score. I don't think my band could have kept up with the atmosphere on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Badness units.
So what did you listen to?
Oh, what did I listen to? I listened to what did I listen to? Actually, let me get my iPad here and take a look at what's on the iPad. Um, I forget now. What did I listen to? I think I listened to Bong Tower.
Long Tower.
A Bong
Wow.
Tower. Yeah, they're Russian doom metal. Yeah, they're super
Oh,
Russian.
okay. I'm gonna
Uh,
write that down.
they have like a crazy Russian accent. They did a cover of uh what's that song? Space Oddity.
Oh, okay. The David Bowie song.
Yeah, yeah. So they did a cover of Space Oddity, um, but with a thick Russian accent.
And like doom metal guitars.
Yes, yeah, and doom metal guitars. They had some synthesizers too. And then what else did I listen to? I guess I listened to some Wizard.
Wizard.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's Wizzard. There's some kind of doom metal. Um, and then I listened to some Jim Drones.
JIM.
Yeah,
drones?
just Jim Drones, some
Okay.
synthesizer guy, with Eurorec. I had heard him on a podcast with another person talking about synth stuff, and so I was like, oh, I'll go check out his Bandcamp page. Oh, you know what else I listened to that was pretty good? I would recommend this to guitar players, right? Is that this band from Japan called OYU. OU.
Okay.
OYU, right? I thought that they were pretty good. So just they're just kind of I don't know what they are actually. Just you have to kind of listen to them.
Okay.
They were pretty good. I was going through like for some reason I just have this list of band names, right? And then I thought like I'm going to go through my list of band names and I'm going to find out how many of the names are already taken. So I just Googled, or I didn't Google actually, I just searched Bandcamp to see like how many of them already exist on Bandcamp. And a lot of them exist. So I had this whole list of names. And so I crossed off, I moved them into a list of like used or taken, right? And then I have another list that is not taken. And along the way, like, if I'd make up a new name too, because I'd be reading the names, I'd think of something new. And OUY, actually it's not, yeah, it's OYU, right? Yeah. So I thought of that, right? And I searched, and then of course there was a band, and then I listened to them, right? So that's kind of how I found them. It was totally random.
Well, that's a good way to find new music, which it can be hard to do. Like, how do you find new music if you know don't like what's on the radio, or you don't have um, a friend who recommends music to you, or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, does anybody even listen to the radio now?
Oh, I think people have. Yeah, people listen to things, like streaming radio stations or something. Um, I listen to KEXP occasionally. If I listen to the radio, it's a streaming radio station. It's an actual radio station from Seattle, but that's a great radio station, and one of the best known DJs from Minneapolis now works there, Kevin Cole.
Oh, great! And they stream. So actually, that's
Hmm.
great because now your Minneapolis radio station, you can just hear it all over the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's actually a Seattle radio station, but yeah, the DJ is from Minneapolis, and
I,
they
I
have
wonder.
bands from all over the world that play in their studio.
Oh, that's cool. What station is it again?
KEXP.
Oh, you know what? I've seen them on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, they have a lot of content on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, they do a great job actually. They get a lot of good
Hmm.
music on there too. I saw like Kurt Vile, I think, and
Oh yeah,
who else? I saw a bunch of people on there. It was pretty good, right?
yeah,
Yeah, they have a
yeah.
good thing. I think
Does
that's
the
really great. I wonder if a lot of bands like that, or like a lot of radio stations, like if it changes the radio station, because in the past, like you'd have to listen to the radio show when it was on.
Mhm.
Now, essentially, like you could stream any episode of the radio station, so it becomes kind of serialized, right?
Yeah. So if you have like the night shift or something like that, you can still get people to to listen to your show, um, who at that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So like even yeah, if you get like an odd time on the radio, other people can still hear you, right? You're playing like Thursday
Yeah.
night at the bar or whatever. Like not that many people show up, right? My bands always play like
Right.
Thursday
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. And it's like if we had been like a streaming band, or if we had plugged into the board when we were playing our shows, maybe we could have a following. I really think that the pandemic
Yeah.
and um, just the emergence of all the streaming technology and different platforms is going to lead to a different way for people to consume all kinds of media, but particularly music.
Yeah, I think it's gonna change everything for everyone,
Yes.
in a lot of ways. I remember hearing something, I forget where, but they were saying like, oh, it's gonna just like totally ruin music, like live music. because people aren't playing live. I think that that's going to be true, but I think only for the musicians that can't innovate. So some people are going to be able to innovate their way out of this. Obviously, it'll be easier for people with money than not, but like I think also people that don't have any money, some of those people are going to get creative,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. I mean, we've already seen some bands, well, people that I've never heard of. I don't know if they have money or not, but they've had um, little concerts from home um, that were streamed via, or somehow they were promoted by Reverb, the Reverb website. So that was really cool. And I've seen a lot of like bands like I guess the Flaming Lips have done collaborations over like Zoom or some kind of um, meeting software, but they obviously were able to somehow sync up what they were doing, even though they're remote. So I think that's going to be a big area for innovation. Is how do you get your band to play together while playing over the internet?
Oh yeah. I guess some people, like if you live with your band, like maybe those
Right.
people are going to get really good because they're just like, well, we can't go out. We're just going to sit home and practice.
Mm-hmm.
Provided you can practice, right? So maybe if you have a crappy apartment with a lot of neighbors, you can't do that. But maybe there's ways around that, right? Maybe you could play quietly or plugged in or unplugged, or maybe you have a sorry drummers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe an electronic drum set. I don't know, right? But I think some people are gonna make the most of this and do well. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's a
Well,
lot of people who are gonna sit around and complain, and a lot of people are just maybe just fucked because they don't. They're just in a position where they can't do a whole lot, or
yeah. Well, I don't
but
begrudge anybody the right to complain because like the situation that I have with my band is pretty lucky, and there aren't that many places that are having bands in. But the front of the building basically opens up, and we're able to play from inside the building to the patrons of the bar who are outside on the sidewalk.
oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
and we do it every week. So that's a really lucky situation. There's only so many slots that bar has to fill, and a lot of bars don't have they don't have any way of having live music right now, um, and some bars have been trying, and then they've had people come by to shut them down because
Oh,
people are like complaining that they had a horn player or the person was singing and they like um even though they had a mask on, like the the virus could get through or whatever.
yeah. Huh. Well, yeah, I guess you're pretty lucky then, yeah, I don't know, I'd go visit you guys, but it's so far away, like, I'd have to go all the way across the town and like deal with people. So I think I just hide out at home these days.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, as happy as I am that we have people that come to listen to us, I'm not recommending to anybody that they come out and sit with other people and drink on the street. Although I did have a friend come up from Santa Cruz, where she now lives, and um, she brought her boyfriend and she brought her pod of people. So she brought like 4 people, and they must all have decided that that was that was the group that they felt comfortable, mixing it up with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
yeah, it
guess
was
it's
great
pretty
to
close. Yeah, I guess it's
see
pretty
a
close
familiar.
for you too. It's like walking distance, right? So that's
Yeah,
not too bad.
yeah, yeah. But I'm not telling my friends to come out and support the band because I do still think it's risky to go, sit in a bar, even though it's outside, and mix it up with other people.
Yeah. This reminds me of like a lot of these there like when I in the 70s there was a lot of like weird like not apocalyptic like post nuclear war but like this kind of future that was like grim, like running out of food, the atmosphere was bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stories like that, and it's really funny because it never happened. In the 70s, like you read about this and they were kind of predicting it and it was kind of not happening. And then boom, all of a sudden, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I I think this is the only future um, that people are prepared for, because all of the science fiction movies are apocalyptic. They've all kind of led us to this. If we had envisioned a sunnier future, maybe we'd be living in happier times.
Oh, that's funny. So you're saying it's, self-fulfilling.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe I could see that. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be with music too. I mean, I think it's important to split your music listening between doom metal and and
Yeah, I gotta
Roses. I
I
don't
gotta
know.
get out of that and broaden my horizons. But
Hmm.
um yeah, actually speaking of music, there's an app. It's called what is that thing called? Now I can't remember the name of it. I'll think of it in a minute. Um but it's basically like Tinder for musicians.
Hmm.
So you just put your name up there and then it'll recommend musicians within X number of miles. And so you can like you can chat with them over the thing and try and meet with them and play music maybe, right?
That's interesting.
Well, they obviously it's not working now, right?
Yeah.
The app still works, but I just remember seeing something like a couple weeks ago where they announced like some big new feature that they were going to add to their app. And I don't know how they were, what it was, but I thought like, oh, I should look into that because I wonder if they've thought of some way for people to collaborate, you
They
know?
need to make it more like TikTok, where you're like, oh, I'm going to put up like a beat, and then somebody else is going to put on another thing. It'll be
Oh,
kind of like,
that's ingenious. You should be an app developer, entrepreneur.
Well, it's funny, I had an idea for like a kind of like a dating service for musicians a long time ago. Um, but everyone I talked to about it said, well, musicians don't have any money and they won't pay for anything like this. So, that
Well,
was
if you,
before we had like, the free economy, like where offering a free service was actually good for you.
well,
So we didn't do
what
anything.
I would say is if you had a dating app for musicians, it would fail because you never date the people in your band because it always ends badly.
Oh, well, it wasn't for dating. It was actually for finding other people to
I
play music with.
I figured that, but the way you phrased it, like I thought, it made me think. Like how
Well,
could
it's
this go
true.
wrong?
Yeah, it's true. But it's like I was once in a band with a couple, a married couple, and the way the politics of the band worked was they were in charge, and the drummer and I were just like the help. And yeah, so I understand that from no one's perspective, is it a good idea to have, like a couple in the band?
Yeah, maybe. And there's
But they're
probably
still
that.
together. They're still
Oh,
married.
good. Yeah, great. Well, I mean, there's also the thing too. It's like if they have an argument, you got to steer clear, right? So if they have an argument, it's like their
Oh yeah.
argument. But if they
Right.
have a problem with the rest of the band, they're united.
Yes.
So it's kind of like it's kind of rough politics to be in the middle of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So we could avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? Is there anything else you want to talk about? What other topics do we got?
Um. Well. As a segue, well, let's just go into this. I think maybe it's time to talk about the great guitar build off.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. Let's talk about it.
I don't think you had heard about it until today.
Yeah. Yeah. You just mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
saw it. I was actually kind of unimpressed, to be honest. None of the guitars in the Great Guitar Build Off. I'm actually going to go look it up here. Great Guitar. Actually, it comes up if you just type Great GUI. You get Great Guitar Build Off 2020.
yes.
But
Yeah. I
like
mean,
when I look at the instruments, I'm like that none of them like I don't know, I wouldn't buy any of those instruments.
I wouldn't either, and they're all up for auction, and they're all really expensive.
Wow.
I mean, I don't want to dish any dirt, but I think like you know, Brad Angove, he's the Canadian lawyer and guitar painter.
Hmm.
Um, he just made like a custom shape,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, he's not really a guitar maker or a guitar designer, and so like I think what you end up with is something that's it's kind of amateur. Like this is well, I think one aspect of the challenge or of the contest that's more compelling than you know the these entrants, these 8 or whatever
Yeah.
guitars, is all of the guitars that were made by you know by I guess fans of these channels, other people you know who don't have like big channels, who weren't invited by Ben Crow to be part of the build off, making guitars at home.
Yeah.
There was a guy who made a hand carved flying V. It had like a you know like a Viking motif, and
Oh nice.
it looks really cool. I didn't see it finished, but it looked like he put a lot of work into it.
Yeah. I mean, like some of these aren't bad. Like I like this, like Derek Leonard's like Telecaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty cool. And that,
It's the most standard
yeah,
thing, and that's the kind of like I was watching his channel today, and he was saying he just made something that it's kind of like a standard type of guitar, and he thought that's what he specializes in. Um,
yeah, he might as well just do his thing and do it
yeah.
well, right? You know, some of them look kind of like creative. Like I'm like, oh, this is like a creative project, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not blowing me away. Like, oh my God, this is something like I'd want to buy and own and play. It just
Right.
looks kind of like an oddity or like a, you know, kind of like, I don't know, something eccentric, you know? What's really cool though is I think better than this. Like I don't want to say great guitar build off is like not that great, but like I think that the TD TDPRI, the Telecaster forum,
Mm-hmm.
they have a sub forum called Home Depot, right? And the Home Depot, the
Mm-hmm.
Tele Home Depot is like just like for a discussion forum for people building guitars. You can build any kind of guitar, but you know, Telecasters are popular there, right? It's in the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they did a thing where, like, I forget, it was almost like every month or every year they had a contest, you know? And what you had to do was you had to send in a picture with your entrance. You printed out this little piece of paper that was your entrance, right? And you wrote your name on it and you sent a picture of that with the raw material, like the wood.
Okay.
So you just see a picture of this piece of paper with a pile of wood, and then people would go build guitars. And they've run the contest like I don't know, like probably 50 times, right? And it's like the results that you see are totally amazing. Like some of the guitars are really pretty good. You know, like people do really goofy stuff too. Like, and sometimes they'll have a theme, right? So they'll be like, make a Telecaster with like some weird material, or make a Telecaster where you make your own pickups, or they'll have kind of weird things, right? One one of them was like build a Telecaster with like it was like less than $100 or something, or less than $50,
Mm-hmm.
right? I forget. It was like some small amount of money, right? And a guy did a telly for that with a bunch of yardsticks. So he went to Home Depot and he just bought they had like a trash can full of yardsticks. Like he bought all the yardsticks and then he glued them all together to make a slab, cut the telly shape out, and then he glued a bunch together for the neck and made the neck out of the yardsticks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
super
amazing.
cool. Yeah, another guy made like an acrylic telly. It was all acrylic. The neck was acrylic, right? But like he just found the acrylic stuff like in a trash can at some like construction site.
That's
You know,
lucky.
and I don't doubt him either, right? Because the guy,
Hmm.
he always builds stuff, like he's got all these build threads on there that are like, you know, where he just finds stuff and he puts it together. And he does like amazing guitar work too. I forget that guy's name. I'll think of it in a minute. But yeah, he's kind of like one of the people like you watch on there because he always does like amazing stuff, you know?
Hmm. Well,
But
when you first mentioned it, I thought maybe all of the uh, the lumber had to be purchased from Home Depot.
no,
Because
I think they just, yeah, they just call it like Tele Home Depot. Let me see if I
there
can
was
find.
somebody on the unofficial Great Guitar Build Off who made um, a plywood guitar. Um, like I think they made the neck and body. I didn't watch the video that they made. Um, but we've talked about that. We've made our plywood and masonite guitar bodies, and um,
Yeah, I
it's
should try and send you this maybe. Um, this is the link to their sub forum. That's the TDR Tele Build Challenge, and it goes back to like 2009. So it looks like they did one every year, but I think they had some other ones where some other kind of like sub contests, you know. But if you look through that, it's pretty impressive, like some of the stuff that people are building.
so they haven't done one since 2014. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe they stopped doing it. I don't know. I was on the forum a few years ago because I was learning to try and build guitars, right? So like this was like a huge resource, right? They just have all this great information there, and the people are pretty friendly, right?
Hmm.
And so I was on there a lot, but then lately I've been kind of more into the electronics thing, so I've kind of been not spending as much time here.
Yeah, I don't have a membership on this forum. I'm on. I think I'm on the Offset Guitars forum.
Oh, they have a DIY forum too, I bet.
Yeah, yeah, and like I think one of the areas that I find interesting is the dressing room, because you can just make up guitars using their little flash or little shockwave thing, and
Oh, funny. Does
um,
that still work?
it does if you have flash.
If you have Flash, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, weren't they gonna quit? Like, isn't Flash? Didn't it officially, finally, like, just like last year or something, like, finally get shut down for good?
Well, I think you can still download it,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't think there are any updates to it. So it's like you know, um, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Make sure you
Ah,
got your
Flash.
antivirus on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What else? What else should we cover? Is there anything else we missed here?
Well, we could talk about that little Thunder pickup. That I was going to segue out of the Great Guitar Build Off into the little Thunder pickup. Um,
Let me go look it up here. Oh, that's that Billy Gibbons thing.
yeah, yeah, and the
Hey,
reason I brought it up is it's in the Texas Toast Guitars, the third neck of their three necked guitar.
oh, so it's kind of like they've got like the tenor, the standard guitar, and then the other one is like a bass, the third neck, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. So, you know, I was looking at this and I was wondering like what the hell this is, but you know what I think it is when I read it, it sounds like it's got a DSP chip in it. So it's like a little computer, like in a pickup.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it like the poles are you can isolate certain poles of the pickup so that you get like maybe 3 or 4 strings for the melody, and then 2 or 3, whatever, like um, for the bass. I don't know how it divides
I'm gonna
the
go out on
poles.
a limb. I'm gonna say that maybe it works differently. I'm gonna say it works like the Electro Harmonix B9 or Mel 9, like their synth pedals. And instead of isolating the strings, it just takes in the signal and then divides it into bands to figure out which are the low strings, right?
Okay.
Because that's what those pedals do. They have like a little computer inside, you know?
Right.
And so that's easier. Like if you have the magnetic pickups, you have the problem that Roland had with their guitar synthesizer. You get bleed from the adjacent strings, right? You know,
Right.
I think what they did right here is that like with these kind of like special pickups, usually they come with like a circuit board and a battery, and and you have to route your guitar to install them, or it's like a big hassle to get it in your instrument, and then and maybe you also need to change the instrument permanently to make this thing fit, right? But what they did was, it looks like this is just a pickup that also has a battery built in, so the footprint, the size of the little Thunder is the size of a standard humbucker, right? So you don't need to change your guitar. You just install it where a regular humbucker would go. And then it's got a tiny little switch on the front, and then a little tiny micro USB charger. So you just charge the pickup directly. You just plug the pickup in. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like guitars with batteries in them,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, this seems pretty like inoffensive as far as that goes, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, I'd hate to not be able to play a gig because I didn't charge my guitar or put fresh batteries in. Um, but yeah, the benefits. I mean, I guess it's the same like as having pedals that you have to put a battery in.
yeah. Actually, you know what this says too, is it says firmware updates Bluetooth 4.2. So actually it has Bluetooth on it. Is that kooky? So like you got to pick up with Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that actually has some bigger possibilities than just like, playing some bass notes, right? You could connect it to your phone and then like, amplify, wirelessly play through your phone maybe, or something weird, right?
Or if you could play it straight into Bluetooth headphones, that would be cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because it says firmware updates Bluetooth 4.2, but then it's got the micro USB charge port too. So it seems like you could update the firmware through the micro USB, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does it say? Add additional controls to manipulate sound in real time. But it just has a little arrow pointing to like nothing, or like a tiny little, like it doesn't even look like a button. And then
You
it
would
has
have to.
this other thing here that's like -1 octave red, -2 octaves green. So it must have like another tiny, maybe those are actually just tiny little LEDs. And then it has a thing here that looks like a little switch, but you couldn't really play it, or you couldn't really switch it with your finger. It's too small. You need like a pen or a tiny screwdriver or something to get in there. Yeah, this is a pretty weird thing here.
Yeah, I
It's
think they
pretty,
want you to buy it. Then you can figure it out.
yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm going to buy this. Maybe though, I don't know, maybe in the future. Yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me. Maybe though, I don't know, right? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I want one of these. But it is, I think as far as this weird technology like this goes, like I think that they did it right. Like they did a good job for this particular technology.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because like you don't need a battery, you don't need to modify your guitar, you can just plug it in. I don't know what kind of wires it has. I bet it has just standard guitar wire, coming out of it, like a 3 or 4 prong wire.
I would imagine so. I think it might have a weird jack that it requires for you to. I don't know. I seem to remember something on the Texas Toast Guitars demo, them talking about having like a separate jack for to run to a bass amp or something.
Hmm. Oh, maybe you can wire that up, because it looks like I'm looking at their installation page, and they say takes 15 to 20 minutes, and essentially it's got a regular just like the regular pickup wire. So it has 3 wires coming out. It's got like a ground wire, the white wire, and then the signal ground.
Oh yeah, it looks like they're.
There's probably more to it than this, right? This is probably
It's a
just showing
stereo
a.
jack. So the output jack is a stereo jack.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, what they're probably doing is the that extra wire that goes to the ring, right? Is it turns the thing off when it's not plugged in.
Hmm.
And then it just has
Oh,
2 wires for the pickup.
well, the the base signal connects directly to one ring of the output jack.
Oh, huh. Okay. So maybe that's different than what I'm thinking. I was thinking they could maybe turn it on and off by plugging in the jack, because that's how like all the guitar pedals work. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I thought of that. So maybe like, yeah, maybe it has a base signal and you can have a stereo, jack going out, and you could split it and go to 2 amps. I actually like that less, because now I got to have a special cable through a special connector, like how's that going to work? Like how many stereo, inputs do I have? Like my amp doesn't have one, right? None of my guitar pedals have it.
You
So
probably have a
I'm
breakout box or something like that to split
yeah.
off to the 2 amps.
Yeah, so you probably need yeah, what does that say? It says black is the base signal. So I think you're right. I think that goes to the ring. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
I
I
think
like
what
that less. I'd like it better if it was you just put it in just like a regular pickup and just used it. You could just flick on the bass when you wanted it.
Yeah, but I think probably the what's going to sell you on it is watching Billy Gibbons play
Yeah, Billy
play the
Gibbons is going
bass.
to sell a few of these,
Yeah, I think he is. And
right?
like if they had just like the inventor doing the demo, you probably wouldn't sell very many.
No. Yeah.
You need star power.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually, uh, there's something about the way that Billy Gibbons plays that I think it's appropriate for this. I was thinking about this earlier. Like one of the standard questions that we usually ask on this channel are, "What are you playing?" And uh, so I've been doing a lot of hybrid picking lately. But like, um, the other day, I was listening with my boss put on um, uh, "Money for Nothing" by Dire Straits,
Yeah.
and I was kind of trying to figure out what Mark Knopfler is doing on that song. Like, well, how does the guitar sound so cool? And I thought, well, he's probably finger picking, and um, he's got a lot of, he's got the neck pickup going and whatever. So I was playing around today, and I was like, he's just octave plucking. He's using um, he might be using his fingers, or he might be hybrid picking with a pick and then his middle finger, but playing the octaves of the power chord, and you get that definition within the chord, and it's it sounds way different from somebody striking down on a 3-string power chord. And like that song, Lagrange also has that octave sound. Like there's, I don't know if he's finger picking or hybrid picking, but it has that cool, the intro riff to Lagrange by ZZ Top
Hmm.
has that
Oh yeah.
has that
Yeah, there
sound.
there is, what is that thing, that people always say is it's like the sound is in the fingers.
Yeah,
It's not the guitar or your pickups or your amp even, but it's like, how you hit the strings.
yeah, yeah, or how you pluck the strings. I've been finding that um, that's kind of like waking up my my guitar playing lately is plucking the strings, kind of like a like the slap pluck bass
Yeah,
kind of sound, but on the guitar.
nice. Yeah, I guess what have I been playing? I've been playing a lot. I've been playing the Lydian mode. We kind of talked a little bit about the pentatonics.
Mm-hmm.
So this afternoon even I was just playing the Lydian pentatonic, which I don't know, like I'm sure I didn't invent it, but like I kind of did it by accident. So it's like actually I guess it's like Lydian dominant. So it's like the pentatonic scale with a sharp 3, or a major third,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and then the sharp 4 instead of the 4. But it's just kind of cool, flavor to it that's different,
Mm-hmm.
makes you think different, right? Because it's got the like the flat 5, but then the dominant 7, and the major third. So I've been
Yeah.
playing that.
No, it's cool. It's different enough that it sounds like a riff, or it doesn't sound like you're just playing scales.
Yeah, hopefully I'm trying to break out of that. Like I find that that's actually a thing that I do a lot is I go up and down the scale like everybody does. So I'm trying to break
Mm-hmm.
break that, right? So if I come up with a riff, then it's or something melodic, but I'm using some notes that are outside of the standard, scales that I've been playing. So, maybe that'll be more interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's um, I think what keeps you going on your quest. Like how to how to break out of the usual, the normal. I mean, at the beginning, you have to learn all that stuff. You have to learn your scales. Um, I didn't think that you did for the longest time. I was like, no, I'm never going to learn the scales because I want to play different. But like, you have to have some fundamental knowledge um, if you want to string notes together. I mean, unless you just kind of like compose stuff and you always just play what you've composed. But like, if you want to be able to improvise and if you want to be able to write more quickly, um,
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it helps to know some of the theory and the patterns, right?
mm-hmm.
Because you can just kind of get into something if someone says like, "Oh, we're in the key of E," you're like, "Oh, great." Like I'm comfortable with E. In these different positions up and down the fretboard. Or if someone says G, you're like, "Okay, I'm not playing G much, but I can maybe transpose, one of the patterns that I know, but put it on the third fret or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to do the ear though. I got to work more on ear training. That's like a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing that um, is the the only thing that we really have to cling to with ear training is intervals. Like, knowing what a C sounds like isn't going to help you if you walk in the front door after work and pick up your guitar. You might think that you know what C sounds like, but it changes unless you have perfect pitch. Um, you don't really know what a C sounds like as opposed to like a C sharp or you know
Yeah.
uh, it's difficult to tell the difference between like a B and a C.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know a few people that can do that, but to be honest, I'm not sure that it helps you musically, right? Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
does. I don't know, but I mean, for me, I don't know that it would help me that much, like composing a song, it might help me like figuring things out. I'm like, oh, great, that's a D, and I know where to start to find the notes.
Yeah, I think it would probably lead to like, oh, you remember where that note is everywhere else on the fretboard as long as you're in standard tuning.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, lately I've been playing. I set up the synthesizer and I put it on a drone and I'll pick a note like a key,
mm-hmm.
and I'll just play over that. But if it just plays one note, then you can play all sorts of different modes on top of that note as the tonic for the key. So I've been doing that. It's kind of good practice, it's a different way to practice. It does kind of lack the change, like playing over a change, right?
Right.
Which is like another level up, but it is good for just practicing, like trying to be melodic in a key. Because if you're without like the tonic or like some kind of backing, like it's hard to get melodic.
Yeah, well, but that's a different exercise, and I think that's a valuable one at that. Playing over changes, it's it's I would say it's more difficult,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's just a different exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
help you to explore that one key as much. It really helps you explore the chord progression and forces you to you know to be ready when that chord change comes around. So it's just different.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's good with the drone. It's kind of good because you can play in a mode, and you can get a feel for like the minor third, like how does that work here? Or
Hmm.
what if I play the major third, like what's that sounding like, and you get a feel for the interval maybe more.
Yeah,
So that's kind of a good exercise. So that's what I've been doing here. I got to do more though. I got to
always
practice
more.
more,
Yeah.
you know. So what are you going to do this week?
Well, uh, I think tomorrow. Um, I know I've been talking about this. I'm going to try to fix the noise issue with my Mustang. I have some, I think,
Oh,
a
on the
ground
bridge.
that inconsistent ground. So I'm going to do that. I think I'm also going to set up. I'm not going to do this tomorrow, probably, but soon I'm going to set up a replacement pickguard for my Strat. So I'm going to put the little killers on the Strat with little micro switches instead of the 5-way switch,
Huh.
like I have on my that Jazzmaster, which you can't.
Yeah.
There it is. That thing. It's got micro switches and 3 of those little killer humbucker, in the single coil space, so you can get a lot of different get a lot of variety of sounds out of it.
Oh, cool. Did you, because that used to have humbuckers in it. Did you change it?
No, that was a different Jazzmaster. That was
Oh, okay.
the one that I keep down at the space.
Yeah.
Um, and someday I'd like to fix that wiring so that I can do parallel and series.
Yeah.
Um, but right now it just does humbucker and split coil.
Yeah. That series parallel thing is harder than it sounds. Some of
Mm,
the wiring is easier, like the split coils is easier, but switching them around series and parallel is actually harder. Hard
okay.
to pull that one off.
Well,
Um,
I think the problem was my soldering. I don't think my schematic was the
that's
problem.
hard. Soldering's hard too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should get together. Oh, well, I guess we're still like under the
Social
pandemic, but
distancing. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should do it online. We'll do it like this, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I'll get one of those big magnifiers so I can show you when
Yeah,
I'm working.
sure, yeah, right. Just get the camera in close, right? But yeah, we
Yeah.
should talk about that. I think we can solve that one. I think we got pretty close, though it didn't quite work.
Right.
Um, yeah, what am I going to do? I guess maybe I'll try and install this zero fret, since I know I still have this. It's been sitting in my desk for months, right? So maybe I'll try and install
Are you
that.
putting that on the Holy guitar?
Yes, yeah. That one's like
Okay, that'll be
almost
cool.
done. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like really close. It's been like almost done for the longest time. So it can get finished finally, maybe. And maybe I got
That's
to
cool. And
finish.
that's like a Les Paul with a Flying V headstock.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. Did you notice the Billy Gibbons guitar? It's a SG with a Flying V headstock on it.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah, I like
That's
my
very
guitar
cool.
better. I'm just kidding.
That's good. It's your guitar.
Yeah,
You
his.
should like
I
it.
think his guitar had that weird like sculpting
That
on the
S
body, and
curve.
I actually
Yeah.
didn't like that. And then it was also, I think it was painted, so like you don't see the wood. Like it's kind of,
Hmm.
it just doesn't excite me like that style on that guitar. You
Yep.
know, I do actually, I do have a little thing for like, there's a Billy Gibbons like gold top, like kind of Les Paul thing. I forget what it's
Yeah.
called, and it's kind of got these pinstripes on it. Like I kind of like that better because it's a little more, I don't know, a little more downplayed,
Yeah.
like the
And it is
style
kind
of
of a
it.
hot rod. Like the electronics are really stripped down. I think it doesn't have a switch. It's only got like a knob for each pickup.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. It's just got three knobs. It's like the weird Les Paul with no switch and the three knobs. Yeah. So that kind of
Yeah.
appeals to me more than that SG. So maybe I'll try and put this nut on here, and then what else? Maybe I'll also, like I said, I was going to do this last week, but I still didn't do it because the desk never got clean. But maybe I'm going to do the try and get the trem shifter done. I did
Oh,
actually, to make progress on that. I ordered a couple enclosures, so they're coming in the mail sooner or later. I just bought some black enclosures, so I think I'm going to mill the enclosure like I did the other pedal, so it'll be
nice.
black, and I'll just mill through to the metal for the markings, right?
That's cool.
So hopefully those will come in the mail, and then I'll be able to move forward on that.
Actually, speaking of coming in the mail, I ordered some things from Guitar Fetish. They had a Labor Day sale, and I bought two things from their factory buyout sale, or factory buyout items. One is a $75 acoustic guitar that I'm going to cut a big hole in and put uh, a piezo pickup and a 3-band EQ on. And the other one is a Telecaster with a glued-in neck, and it's
Huh.
bound. It's a bound Telecaster with a
Ooh.
glued-in neck, routed for humbuckers. So I'm going to put together a guitar for my brother's upcoming 50th birthday. So
Dude, I think I like that guitar better than the guitar contest guitars. The
the
guitar
the,
build off
the
guitar.
glued-in neck.
Yeah, the telly with the set neck and the binding.
Hmm.
Is it finished?
Yeah, it's finished. It's got a finish defect,
Yeah.
but I'll see if I can,
Yeah. What color
deal
is
with
it?
that. It's black.
Oh, awesome. So it's like
Yeah.
tuxedo telly,
Yeah.
rosewood fretboard.
Yep.
Oh,
I
awesome.
think.
Dude,
I think I forget.
I way like that better than any of the build off guitars. Well, actually that guy's Telecaster was pretty good.
Yeah.
That first
Big
one.
D.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Um, but yeah, I think I like the sound of this Telecaster a lot.
Yeah. It might be hard to send it off. Um,
You could give your brother something else.
I
A
know.
tie, yeah,
He doesn't wear
cufflinks.
tie. Nobody wears ties anymore.
Well, you could start.
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna make this other guitar for him, but it would have required painting, and it's not a good year for painting.
Yeah. Actually, if that other one has some kind of finish problem, you could just like scratch it off and call it
Relic
relic,
it. Yeah.
right? It depends on where it is, right?
Right.
You
Yeah. I
know.
mean, I'm a little nervous about that. Like if they're really bad and I can't like buff them out or whatever, it might be like on the front face of the guitar. But I don't know. What do you want for
You
$100?
get some, yeah, we'll get some sandpaper.
Yeah. I've
If
got a
it's
good.
like, if it's just like a paint drip,
Hmm.
like just leave it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's like really
Yeah.
ugly,
Yeah. I mean, it's.
I was going to say if it's really ugly, maybe you could sand it off,
Hmm.
you know, the bummer is if it's got a clear coat over the paint, you'd be sanding through the clear coat, and then you gotta like, you could sand the drip out maybe and not even go through the paint, but then you got to put a clear coat on it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe the relic is actually not a bad idea. Just make it look kind of worn out. If you get creative, maybe that could be a way to explore like relicing a little bit.
I do actually want to do some content on relicing, um, like how to make a cheap Epiphone or something like that look like an old guitar or whatever. I know there are videos about people relicking like nitrocellulose finishes, and um, I'm not going to do that. If I put all the effort of making a nice nitrocellulose lacquer paint job on a guitar, I don't want to relic it off.
Yeah, I know. And then it doesn't last as long because you're
Right.
like wearing through the paint, right? Like the finish should be there to kind of protect the wood,
Yeah.
right? Though I do wish I have a couple of guitars I wish I could wear down a little bit because they're just, I don't know, they're just a little too shiny.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I'm kind of
um,
anti relic, but I'm also anti shiny brand new plastic coated guitar,
yeah.
I'm hard to please.
No, I understand that. And sometimes those polyurethane or what's the other poly, but those finishes are just too thick because it's
Yeah,
easier
yeah.
to hide any blemishes with a thicker finish.
Yeah, it's really hard to wear them out,
Yeah.
right? So, if you're going to relic them, it's going to take a decade, right? If you're going to
Right.
do it naturally, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was a good run. Good talk. And we'll save some for next time.
Yeah.
Sounds like we've got a lot going on, and so yeah. So the next update um, should be pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great talking with you, Kirk. We'll do it again.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody
Good
can
talking with you.
leave their comments in the comments.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for joining in,
Or the
everyone, and
questions, right?
definitely let us know what you want to talk about, or want us to talk about, and if you have any thoughts about the subjects that we touched on today, um, we'd love to hear those thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.